I flipped my first house when I was 18 years old. Then I went through a divorce and I lost everything. So today I had an interview all lined up with a very special guest that I was going to have here, and I'm all set up, and they cancelled at the last minute. So what do you do in a situation like that? Well, I figured I'm going to interview myself. I'm going to ask the same questions that we're going to ask the guest, and with some Hollywood magic from the team who does the video editing, they're going to be able to have me in two places at once. So we'll see how this goes. My name's Darren Wright, your real estate investor. So, welcome to the interview, Darren. So, who are you and where are you from? Well, my name's Darren Wright, and I'm from Brandon, Manitoba in Canada. But obviously, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here. I was born in England. I moved here in 2007. That's great. And what do you do? Yeah, thank you. I often get asked, what do you do? And I always wrongly say I'm a real estate investor because people don't understand what that means. So what I actually do is I help people reach financial freedom through real estate investments that we manage and handle. So, I find the properties, the deals, and work with all the people that are involved in various parts of the deal, and then we manage it afterwards. So that's basically what I do, and obviously I do interviews like this. And how did you get started? So how did I get started? It was a little bit of a two-part getting started. I flipped my first house when I was 18 years old with a friend of mine. We were both electrical apprentices, and I did a video about that on how the first flip didn't go that well at all. I had no responsibilities, so we could start renovating this, but by the time it came to when it should have been finished, I was serious with a girl and we wanted to move in and get on with our lives, and we eventually got married and had children in that house. So the renovation took a lot longer because then we're living in it and things like that, and we didn't pull the cash out, because we were living in it, and it didn't go as well as I expected. I was working for a builder, after hours as a side job, doing electrical work, and I learned a lot from him about flipping houses and making profit on it. But I never had the confidence to go out and do it for myself. I was happy just doing the electrical work, earning some extra money, feeding the kids and doing that. And always with the mentality of, I don't have the money for that, so I'm never going to get that sort of money. I'm not born for money. No, my family has money, so I'm never going to be able to do that. So I can only be a worker in that scheme of things. So roll on many years later, when I'd moved to Canada and my own electrical business and doing very well, that I still had the earning to do real estate and stuff and flipping houses. So I made inquiries and I went to a weekend seminar. It was Stefanonio. He was well known in Winnipeg, making some real waves. Unfortunately, he's passed away since. He passed at a very young age with cancer. But I learned a lot from that seminar, and then again I cheaped out. I just got a course I could do at home, and I bought the program, 10 weeks to cash or blueprints or something like that. And it took me months to get started, kept procrastinating, and then I eventually went through the course, listening to the CD, we're up to CDs then, narrating really the course, and I learned the numbers, and the numbers is what has to make sense. So moving on from there, I then learned that there were other groups we could join, so I was interested in learning from Teammate Real Estate. I hadn't joined at that stage. But I kept going to the weekly meetings because I did a lot of research before, I signed in with any coaches, and I did. We took the profits from, money we've made, and then reinvested it into education so we can go to the next level. And I learned about single family or small multifamily rental properties. So I wanted to keep flipping, but I also wanted to buy and hold as well, because the money I made from flipping, I wanted to do that, to build generational wealth. That's what I wanted to do in a family corporation. But then I went through a divorce and I lost everything. So all the flipping business had to be closed down and sold. Well, not sold, just closed down really, liquidated, banks paid back. And the revenue properties that I was starting also had to be sold off in order to pay for the divorce. So I was completely wiped out. I was still with Teammate Real Estate, so I used the knowledge that I gained from there, and I just moved to the next step, which was doing apartment buildings. I'd learned about how to raise funds from other people, but I was terrible at it because I was good at raising my own capital because I had a successful business, I had my own real estate, and I could use that to leverage. But once you've got nothing, you don't have anything to leverage. So we had to then form partnerships to rely on their credit and their net worth in order to buy, apartment buildings. And we teamed up with a great partner, and we continue from building to building to building and until we got where we are today. So that's all got started. So what's a typical day look like for you? So a typical day for me it's a little different. There's no real typical day, but I don't get up to an alarm clock anymore. I have a couple of times when I do set the alarm. If I've got Toastmasters, I set my alarm to make sure I'm not late. If I have a breakfast meeting, I meet a couple of other entrepreneurs, investors, where breakfast is the only time they can get a meeting together. So I'll set my alarm because I never want to be late for that. But all the other days, I do not set an alarm. And I get up anytime between 5 and 7, I'm not the 5 o'clock club. I have been just whenever I'm rested and I wake up, then I will get up and, I always shower first before we do anything else. And sometimes I'll check my phone and do anything that's come up overnight, because we do have, remote workers that work in a different time zone. So, I typically deal with them. Then I usually go to the gym, 5-6 days a week. Most days are working out, other days I'll just go on a treadmill, a bit like I did today, just getting the steps in. And then the rest of the day I'm dealing with, meetings, whether it's a coffee meeting. I say that because I don't drink coffee, I only drink herbal tea. So, or I have meetings in my office, do interviews. Creating videos for other people to enjoy and learn from. I love to inspire people, and hopefully it's been successful for me. So I always want other people to learn from that success and be successful for themselves. So I'll focus on that. I've been busy writing my book and getting that published, which is going out this week. So it's going to be live in a couple of days. I'll do another interview, do another video about that. And obviously I usually go home for lunch. My wife has a dog, so she's not home for lunch. I can let the dog out and make sure I get some good nourishment. Then the afternoons is meetings and running the business and doing what we can. I always make sure we have family time. I have date night in the calendar, that's Friday night. Weekends we like to travel and go and see family because we have family, out of town. So we try and do that and try and separate the difference between work and pleasure, but there is a big overlap because if we're ever out of town, we're always working anyway. You've got your phones, but we try and get things managed for us as much as possible, and we're working on doing a better job of that as well. So you're a husband, a father, a granddad, and you're working on building generational wealth. So what is the number that you want to pass on to the next generation? So yes, I mentioned earlier generational wealth. That's always been something that I wanted to build. I didn't get any wealth handed down to me. My dad apologized for that. I never want to make the same apology. I brought them up in the same poor mindset of I've had, and I'm trying to change that now by passing on the rich mindset and a positive mindset on, not saying I can't afford that, but saying, how can I afford that? You know, working on investments and getting, you know, there's nothing wrong with working for somebody or not going for education. I'm never saying that, a different route, but you've got to work, you've got to save or store that money and put it into investments. That your money's got to work harder than you have, and then it's got to come back as passive income, and you can enjoy the passive income and keep reinvesting that as well, and it'll grow. So the number for me to be able to pass that on generational wealth is, I would like to get to 2,500 doors or rental units or keys, depending on what it is, with 1 billion in real estate. And the reason why I want to get to such a size is because I believe at that size, the business is self-running. You can afford to have a management structure in place, therefore the business can run without the owners being involved every day. You can just have an owners meeting, whether it's once a week or once a month, and just very little hours on how are things going to make sure it's still going in the upward climb and not the opposite. And the reason why I want to hand the business over is because I don't want, you know, the next generation to feel like they're lumbered with a job. I've seen too many children take over parents' business and they hate the business. It's not their dream, it's not their passion, but obviously they want the income, and too many businesses die on the next generation or the generation after because the structure's not there. So I want to build a structure so it is there. So what advice do you have if someone wants to get started? You know, if they're interested in getting started, you know, how could they get started? So yeah, great question on what advice to give someone who's interested in getting started. I'm going to refer to my ENA success method. So ENA stands for education, network, and action. So you need an education to start with. So whether you're wanting to flip property, buy and hold, do apartment buildings, do land deals, wholesaling, storage units, you know, RV parks, mobile home parks, there's a whole whack of what you can do. Get an education. Start with YouTube videos, do your free courses, they'll only get you so far. Get books, there's a lot of knowledge in books, my dad always said that. And then you can research, get a good coach, get a mentor. You may need to get one at different levels as you start to move up, but every coach I've ever been under also has a coach and a mentor above them. There's levels as you go, and the higher you go, the more they cost. Just make sure that you're getting good value for what you're paying for. And then the next is networking. You're going to network with people. You know, you've heard it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, you do need the education, but you do need to have the connections of every type of, whether you're looking for investors or looking for deals or just looking for information. The team you're going to build, you know, you need lawyers, you need mortgage brokers, you need realtors, accountants. You know, you need a whole construction, you know, maintenance crews. You need a whole property management. You need all that. So you're going to network with people to find out who's best. And then lastly, you need to take action. It's no good having a network and education if you're not taking any action. So you need to take the action to get the benefit of your education and your network. And you'll find that after you've taken action, you do some more learning, because it's not all going to be perfect or 100%. You're going to go back around to taking more education, to keep building more of your network, and then you take more action that goes around, and it gets faster and gets bigger, and you really do scale up. So that's what I'd recommend for anyone interested in getting started, not just in this, but in anything. And the last question, just as we wrap up here, what's the best way for anyone to get in contact with you? And the best way to get a hold of me is just go to my website, which is darrenwrightinvestor.com, and there's a contact form on there. I think I have my email address, so yeah, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe to the channel. You get to find out that way. There is YouTube at infiniteproperties.com. You can contact through that. And there's a lot more contents coming this, and I really appreciate you being here and doing this unique interview, and we'll see how it turns out. So give it a like, share, subscribe so more people can watch it and learn. I'm here to reach out. Okay, well, thank you very much for stepping in at the last minute and doing this interview. It's been a pleasure, and I hope everyone's got lots of information out of this, and subscribe for more crazy interviews.